project the old man. I started in the industry in 1991, so those that can't do the math, that's 20 years now. I was president of Blizzard North for almost 10 years. I made Diablo and Diablo 2. I don't give many talks. I don't talk in public very often. It's a strange thing for me, and so I'll try not to be too shy. I started Flagship Studios. I was in Turbine for a short while, and now I am president and CEO of Gazillion. And just has been in that position in November. I've been there for about 2 years. I started out doing Marvel Universe, which is a project. So what we're going to cover today is kind of go back into years long gone by now, where what it was like when Diablo came out, and what it was like to make games at that point. And then kind of the evolution of RPGs, development of gaming in that course of 15 years, and where I believe the industry is headed. So let's start way back when, in Diablo, the very first product that we made, the very first PC product, I should say actually the first product. I actually made some Genesis games and things like that beforehand. So this was my very first PC product. It was developed by what was originally Conroy, became Blizzard North, and published in 1996. Some of the big games of 1996 were Duke Nukem, Quake, Tomb Raider, a few franchises that you might have heard of. Excellent gaming. And some of the big consoles at that time were PlayStation and 64 and Saturn. The total video game revenue was $3 billion, which now is a lot more. So Diablo itself, I'll give you guys a little story on a few stories here. First, we pitched Diablo for years. You would not believe we had this crappy little packet that we would hand out at CES, this was before E3 existed. And we'd hand out to all these publishers, just trying to get them to take a look at this weird little game. I had thought of the game when I was in high school, named after, actually the name Diablo comes from. I lived at the base of the mountain, Mount Diablo, in the East Bay of San Francisco Bay Area. And so that's where the name comes from. And so we had been, I thought of the game at that time. And this is what I've always wanted to do. And years later, we were out pushing the product, trying to get this thing published, handing it out to anybody that would listen, nobody would listen. And so finally, a group of guys that we had gone to the Consumer Electronics Show to show off Justice League Task Force, which was a fighting game with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, et cetera, et cetera. And we were doing the Genesis version, this other team was doing a Super Nintendo version, and neither one of us knew that either one was doing a separate SKU of this title. We'd been in development for a year and a half, and we'd show up like, what, there's another version of this game? And it's being done by a different development house, and we never met, and we never shared ideas, and wow, these games are strangely similar. So we got to know them, and they said, oh, we just were acquired, we're working on a PC game, and we changed our name to Blizzard, which was better than their previous name. And so we kind of just, we want to see what we're working on. Yeah, I'd love to see it. We went back and we saw Warcraft 1. This was in like the springtime, no, maybe January or something, about a year before it was actually launched. And Emma and I got to know each other, and then over the course of the year, then we became kind of buddies and talked a lot on the phone, and eventually said, hey, we got this game idea, and we want to do PC games, why don't you guys come out and listen? So in January, after they finished Warcraft 1, they came out and listened to our little speech and pitch, and they, for some reason, decided to do the game, and we were so desperate to do it that we actually signed a deal for $300,000, which was good for them, not so good for us. Doesn't really pay the bills. I mean, I wasn't really paying myself anything, but that does not go very far. Even back then, which is a bunch of guys making nothing. So we worked on the game for 21 months, and that $300,000, like I said, wasn't too much. We tried to sneak any kind of money out of them as we could. For instance, we were working on the game, and they said, so we've got this great idea. Originally, the game that we pitched was, yes, a lot of the rumors are true. It was turn-based. It was, for a couple of weeks, I'm going to get this straight right now, a couple of weeks it was claymation. But that is quite a story at this point. Maybe we made the 20th anniversary video, for God's sake. And so, I don't know what we were thinking. It was Primal Rage, the arcade machine was out. I don't know, we had 10 years behind or something. They said, you know, we can do amazing things with 3D. We're like, yeah, that's probably a better idea. But it'll cost you. And so eventually we got to talking, and we came up with this idea for the real time instead of turn-based. This is maybe like 5 months in development or something. And we've been talking back and forth on the phone, and I was like, man, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know. This is going to be, we're going to have to start over. It's going to cost a lot of money. So we negotiated back and forth for a few days, and I got an extra $100,000 out of them, which was a windfall at this point. And I coded it up in an afternoon. So that helped pay bills a little bit. But eventually, the money did run out, and they knew that we'd been working so well together, and it was going to cost them an arm and a leg if they didn't do something quickly. So about halfway through the development, we came to some North, which was to everybody's benefit. So we eventually completed about a year after we were acquired, maybe 10 months or so, and released Diablo on PC. So the development methodology that we used during this time was waterfall, which developers kind of understand, but basically we just made a list of shit that we were going to do, and we did it. And that list oftentimes would change. Yes, I wasn't doing, but I did shower. And I would come in and into work and say, so I had this idea in the shower, and then like the programmers go, oh man, oh no. And so sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But they interrupted workflow, and we just like, but it didn't really make that much of a difference. It was like an afternoon of somebody's interruption. Oh, we should put, you know, some objects in like that you can interact with, like a shrine or something. And so that, okay, well, let's move up a shrine and see what that might be like. So those kind of things happen, and that's how we developed the game. It was like any damn good idea, we just tried out because it only took a few minutes to try it. So the development methodology was very loose, and eventually we said, well, it's got to be about done now, and we finished. And so there were a lot of things that we kind of went through. There was the technical considerations of claymation versus 3D. That lasted 2 weeks, like I said. And then we also had a very big debate over DOS versus Windows 95 and DirectX. Windows 95 was this fandangled new Microsoft product that was supposed to be easy to use. It was easier than DOS. To run DOS games, for those that don't remember, it was a giant pain in the ass. And it was a giant pain in the ass to develop for. You had to know, like, what hue is your sound card on? And like, is this expanded or extended memory? And things like that. So you had to be nearly a computer scientist to actually run DOS games. And then between that and being able to put in a CD and install something and double click on an icon, the audience magically grew. And so we decided to go with Windows 95, which was in DirectX, and we were one of the first products to ship with that. And it was the right decision. And then there were other things that we wanted to do. There was kind of the internet gaming, LAN gaming, where it was more LAN than anything at this point. We're really becoming popular. It was really what we loved to do. We had kind of a popular way that we allowed people to play Warcraft 1 and 2, where you could spawn extra copies of the game, and other people didn't even have to own it, but because it was LAN play, you could have your friends play with you. And so it's kind of like a light version of the game that you can install. And so we really really loved this, but it was just kind of a pain in the ass to be able to play over the LAN network. Again, you had to be kind of a computer scientist to be able to get it going. IP addresses and all this bullshit. And so they said, well, why don't we just connect everybody together? We can play over the internet. Oh man, that sounds like an awesome idea. And so, it is an awesome idea. It was a great idea, but good God, it was about a bunch of cars. So, about 6 months before Diablo shipped, we implemented Battle.net. So, what this meant was this had a huge impact on well, our games at Blizzard and gaming in general. Before this, a few services started to arrive, like 10. 10 was Total Entertainment Network, or something like that. And they were a company that was a service that was basically what Battle.net was. You had games on there, and you would go up, you would meet up with friends, you would share the IP addresses and all that stuff. It was a subscription, so you join this club, you can meet up with your friends, and you can hook up and play games. So it's a neat idea, et cetera, we put it in the game for free. And so it didn't really go over very well, and kind of a lot of these companies that were kind of sprouting up started to disappear. In fact, 10 actually ended up going a completely different direction and changed its name to Pogo, and so that's what they ended up doing. This was obviously a big change for us, building Battle.net, being able to hook up people over the internet was really exciting. But that meant that we had, it was going to be more expensive to develop this product. We also had to change it from kind of, which was really not that ready for multiplayer to really ready for multiplayer. And but we wanted to try and keep the costs down because, well, this was kind of an experiment, and well, we were cheap and we didn't have much money. And we were, okay, well, let's maintain this thing by making sure that the bandwidth, which was a little bit more expensive at this point, is peer-to-peer so that we don't have to pay for it and things like that. So all of these kind of considerations were done in the end. Thank you. But maybe I need to take a break. That was a hint of some sort. And so we're going to make this thing peer-to-peer and allow people to play and come in with that. And what initially started as a feature really became kind of a standard for the industry. Everybody expects this kind of thing. One click and you're in playing with your friends was really kind of our dream, and it really became a reality after this. So Diablo 2 was very successful. It sold lots of copies, had a huge Metacritic score. Everything was a success, except for what was rampant cheating. So, in what could be one of the dumber moves in my career, it's probably maybe top 3. For some reason, I thought, well, people cheat in games, but I don't give a crap. They want to win their little experience, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Never in a million years did it cross my mind that now that people are hooked up over the internet, they can just share those cheats with everybody. And everybody was cheating. It's like, oh God, it's widely available. Everybody's cheating. It's kind of an isolated thing when you were doing all these modem moves and stuff. So that was a really brilliant maneuver. So we resolved to change that, fix it with success, as well as the real need to want to fix this terrible cheating problem. We decided to do the second one. Well, we didn't have any other ideas. So, next, the story continues then with Diablo 2, which was released in June of 2000. Some of the big games at that time, Sims, EverQuest, expansion, I believe Fidelis maybe even came out in that year. And so some of the notable events were PlayStation 2 was released, 64 games, and the other consoles. And then when those really started to blossom at this point, Duo kind of led the way, and EQ kind of followed up, and these were really kind of coming into their own. People were playing them a lot and really enjoying them, including myself. And revenue was double what it was just a few years ago. Climbing